Hello everyone. So, if you haven't already heard, what I'm pretty sure is the biggest duck game update ever just released today, or at least I hope it did if I managed to finish this video on time. There's so many changes in this update that I could probably spend easily over an hour covering them all, but to keep this video a reasonable length and somewhat interesting, I'm just going to give a short overview of all the major changes. I might make more videos on some of the more detailed changes and larger ones, but right now the update is only on Steam. I'm expecting it'll also come to the Switch after some time. I don't know how long. Anyway, enough wasting time. Let's get into the details. To keep this video somewhat organized, I'm going to be splitting everything up into sections. Timestamps for each section can be found in the comments and in the description. So if at any point you get bored of what I'm talking about, you can just go there and skip to the next section and see something that might interest you. So the thing I know that everyone wants to see first are the new items and weapons. There's 4 new major weapons in this update. The coolest one in my opinion is the Wagnus. It's a teleporting weapon that will teleport you in the opposite direction that you're facing, and anything that you teleport through will die. It works pretty much just how you expect it to. It has infinite ammo while you're on the ground, but as soon as you leave the ground, you only get 2 shots until you get within range for it to recharge. If you hit flap with it, it'll teleport you upwards, which is pretty good to know, and if you can do normal angles with it too, but it's pretty janky. You'll have to figure that out for yourself. In my opinion, it's a really strong weapon. Obviously you can teleport and there's basically no cooldown, so have fun with that one. The next weapon is this new sword. It's called the Energy Scimitar, I think is how you say it. It's a very complicated weapon. There's a lot of stuff to go over that I won't have time to cover in this video, but generally it's a fancier lightsaber sword type thing. If you hold down, it'll enter this charge state, and then from this state you can do either a double jump like that, or you can do a big swing forward if you hit attack. And additionally, whenever you throw the energy sword, it'll go in a straight line. So if I throw it up or in any direction, it'll just keep going in that direction forever, and it'll kill things on the way. Also, it drags them with them, which is pretty funny. So the next gun is a bit of an interesting one. It's called the camping gun. It shoots sleeping bags, which works similar to net guns, but instead of being in a net, you're in a sleeping bag. That's pretty much all I'll say about it. It has a reload like a shotgun, so you have to hit the button twice every time. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I think it's pretty cool. Alright, so this next weapon is a bit of a weird one. It's called the Dandelion. It's basically a grenade launcher that shoots bullets. You hold it and it'll tilt upwards until you release, and it'll shoot an arcing bullet. The more you use the gun, the weaker the bullets get, which is quite interesting. I don't know how I feel about it, but I think it's a pretty cool gun. You can angle it if you time it well enough, like most other guns. It doesn't have any other special properties. It does bounce if it hits the ground or some other object early in its path. That's pretty much it for the Dandelion. The last gun in this update I can't show you because it's a secret gun. It only appears during games from random boxes at a very low chance. If you want to see one, you're probably just going to have to play the game, or maybe you can find a video of one online. It's currently not available in the level editor without the use of console commands, but I'll skip over it for the sake of this video just so you can find it yourself. So before we get to the equipment items, there's a couple of miscellaneous items that I wanted to cover. The first one is the item box here. You can put any item in it, and then when you break it with bullets, it'll explode into a bunch of that item. In that case, it was grenades. The next thing is these little slag blocks. These are a new prop that you can have float in lava, similar to how boxes will float in water. But when they're outside of lava, they function similar to rocks. They slow you down and they block bullets. Alright, so in this update, there's an additional 4 new equipment items. The first one here is this spiky helmet. It does pretty much what you'd expect. It'll kill people if they step on your head. Additionally, you can stick boxes to your head like this. It's pretty neat. So these next 2 equipment items are both holsters. What a holster lets you do is when you put it on your back, it'll let you carry 2 guns at once. So if I want to put this pistol in my holster, I hit up and then I hit grab, and then I can pick up another gun. And if I want to swap between them, I just hit up and grab again, and I can switch. This also lets you store 2 of the same gun, so if I want to put 2 pistols back there, I can. Like this, and then I can double my ammo capacity. The powered holster is very similar to the normal holster. The only difference is that when you put an item on your back, you can now hit quack to fire that item. Otherwise it works exactly the same as the normal holster. Alright, this last item is a very special one. It's duct tape. What duct tape allows you to do is tape any two guns, or even more than two guns, to the same item. I'll show you. If I use the duct tape by hitting shoot on top of another gun, and then I go over to another gun and I hit shoot again, now these two guns are duct taped together, and whenever I hit shoot, they both fire at the same time. I'm sure you can imagine that there's an infinite number of combinations of guns you can make with this, so have fun with that. Finally, this update adds one new instrument, the keytar. This is by far the most advanced instrument in the game so far. If you're on controller, you can change the key and pitch shift the instrument, but on keyboard you can only change the key. In the options menu, there's a new control button for jam mode, which will allow you to use the 1 through backspace keys to control the keytar. I'll just showcase all the different noises it can make. Additionally, if you hit strafe, it'll switch the modes. So let's just go through them real quick. So that's all the modes. You'll notice that the last one was a little different. It's like a drum set. Some of the keys are the same. That's all for the keytar. This next section will be about the 2 new tile sets and new blocks that were added. This level that I'm on right now is a new city level. The city levels have a purple background and these purplish street-style blocks. Sometimes in the background a plane will fly across the screen with a flag that shows various messages. The other new tile set that was added was the Kingdom tile set, but unfortunately there's no new maps for that tile set yet. I'll show you some examples of what the background looks like and the blocks do look like though, so when those maps do get added. So this is the new Kingdom tile set. You can see it's very bright, very white. Right now the only 2 assets for it are these blocks and the parallax background in the background. You can see when they're just one thick, they look like clouds, and when you stack multiple of them together, they turn into this green tile thing and some orange pillar looking things. But that's pretty much it for the Kingdom tile set. So you may notice on some city levels there's a new block, a new mechanic. These are pipes. When you enter them, you'll go shooting out the other side. You can place them in any direction you want. Not too specific. There's 3 different colors, so if you want to overlap them, you can use 3 different paths. They're super cool. If you hold jump while coming out of them, you go even higher. I'm excited to see what people make with these. So in addition to the pipes, you may notice on some of the ice levels there's a new decorative functional block, these icicles. These icicles are a new thing on some snow levels. If you shoot at them, they'll fall off and they'll become an icicle item that functions similar to a box. You can crush people with them. If you're unfortunate enough to stand under one, when it falls off, it will kill you. But that's something that was added to a few of the past ice maps. I added more on this level just so you could see what they look like. There's not actually that many. So another super cool new mechanic are these sideways teleporters. You can now place teleporters sideways in the level editor if you right click on a teleporter and then click the horizontal checkbox. And whenever you increase the height, it'll increase the width now. They work exactly as you'd expect. You can do the classic portal trick where you fall into 2 of them and you gain infinite speed, or you can just, jump through them as you please. So another neat addition is there's a new type of spring added. On the left you can see a purple spring, on the right are the standard red springs. The red springs are unchanged, they work just as they did before, but the purple springs just bounce you a little bit less high. They don't go quite as tall or quite as high. That's really all there is to them. To make a spring purple, you just right click it in the editor and select purple spring. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the online and lobby changes, of which there are quite a few. The first thing you'll notice is that there's some new furniture in my room, new room decorations. There were actually a handful of new items added, including the snow collection that you can see here. Lots of neat stuff. I've been told that the snow collection is very rare, so you might not get it too often, but I've unlocked all the items here just to show you them. There's also some new rooms, like there's the snow room, there's a flower room, I believe there's a recording room somewhere if I can find it. There it is, it's a nice red room, there's a new office room. There's a bunch of little additions here and there, some cool new furniture stuff. The biggest change, in my opinion, the most important change to the online lobby system is that you can now create 8-player games without any mod support. So I'll show you, if I make a game, private game for now, and then I edit the slots, all of a sudden there's 8 more slots to choose from. You can open them to whatever you want, and then it'll stay in this 8-player section. So as more people join the game, they'll fill up these additional slots. And you can have up to 8 people. You could do 4v4 teams, you can do 2v2v2v2, or however you want to do it. It's lots of fun. Another super cool change is that you can now make spectators, up to 4 spectators in any one game. If you hit pause and then you hover over the player names, you can set them to spectator. You can also do it if you edit the slots and then hover over their slot, you can set them to spectator. And as a spectator, you'll notice that I'm no longer taking up a slot, which means that you can have 8 people and 4 spectators for a total of 12 people all watching the same game. But there's some cool stuff you can do as a spectator. So you can see if as I move my controls, move around in my chair down here, if I hit attack, I can move my position in the chair, so I can be on the edge of my seat, I can be under the desk, I can stand on the desk, I can be back in the chair, which is normal. If you hit strafe, you'll change the direction you're facing. If you hit grab, it'll bring up a nice drink, and there's an assortment you can choose from. There's quite a few actually. And lastly, if you hit strafe and you hit ragdoll at the same time, you can change your color. You can see there's now 8 colors to choose from because there's 8 possible ducks that can be in an 8-player game. So the new colors are this darker brown, this red, a blue, and a pink. Not sure, those might change later, but super cool. There's lots of drinks to choose from. So the last little change that was made to the online lobby system is that you can now ban players from your lobby. You do this either by hovering over the slot and then pressing the ban button, and I believe you should be able to ban them by hovering over their name in the pause menu. What this does, it just kicks them from the game and it prevents them from joining back. So if you have one player that you keep kicking and they're really annoying and they keep joining your game, then you can ban them and they won't be able to get back in. Alright, so the next section we're going to go over is the new chat system rework. The entire chat system for online play has been reworked. So now if you'll see, if I type a message here, it shows up and my hat is next to my message, and if I hit quack, it'll actually update the hat next to the message. Super cool. And if I keep typing additional messages, they'll show up stacked like this. So you can see it'll show up, it'll only show your hat once, and it'll kind of stack them together. In this case, because I'm the white duck, it'll show a white background on my messages, but if I was another color, it would show a different color. So in addition to the chat looking a little different, there's a lot of new options for chat settings. If you go to the options page and then you go to more, you can see here there's tons of settings. So first off, there's a swear filter. So if you don't want people swearing in your games, then you can turn this on. It's the same filter that's used in a lot of Steam games like CSGO, so if you're familiar with that, you'll already know how this filter works. Additionally, there's custom emojis. I'll go over that later, but you can toggle who you view custom emojis from, just so you don't want to view them from random people, you can do that. And the cool stuff here is that there's a bunch of fonts you could choose to make your text here. So I'll just go with Calibri. You can adjust the font size. I'll make it bigger. Chat head. Oh, you can make the hat a little bigger, smaller. We'll make that larger. Then there's the text-to-speech options. We'll look at that in a bit. So now if I say something, it's a totally different font. It's much larger, and my hat is bigger. So that's super cool. Right now, I think that it only supports a limited number of fonts. I'm not sure if more will be added later, or if you'll be able to add your own, but already it's super cool. So if we turn on text-to-speech, let me just turn up the volume a little bit. text-to-speech
Chat text speech enabled.
There it goes.
Hater says hello.
And it'll just recite any messages that get typed into the chat. Oops. Not really sure why you'd want to use that, but it's there if you want it. So if you want to use custom emojis, there's a new folder in documents/duckgame/custom/emoji where you can put PNGs from anywhere between 11 by 11 pixels to I think 28 by 28 pixels. And then whatever PNGs you put in there, you just, in your chat, you hit colon, and then you type the name of it, and then you hit another colon, and it'll show up. And then it'll show up in chat when you type it like that. So it should be pretty cool. You can import any emoji you want, as long as it's in the size limitations, that you're good to go. One thing that I can't really show you right now is that there's added support for new languages. I know in the patch notes it mentions Spanish and Japanese characters, but there might be more that I don't know about or that I just missed, or more that'll come in the future. But if you don't speak English and you play Duck Game, you can now hopefully type in whatever language you want. So one lobby feature that I can't really show you right now, I plan to get footage of this, but I just didn't have the time to finish this video, is that now whenever the host of a game leaves the game, the host should migrate to whoever is the next in line in the player slot order. So if I was the host and I was playing in a 4-person game and I left, then the game should continue on without me, and the next player in line would get host. In addition to the host migrating, if anyone in a game leaves, it should now keep going without returning to lobby. That's because whenever you start a game, there's going to be a new option in the menu that'll say return to lobby. So whenever you want, you can just go back to the lobby if you want to change your hats or change the level configurations. It's super nice. So this next section will cover all the major changes and reworks to the level editor, of which there are many. The first thing you'll notice when you open up the menu, for this demonstration I'm going to be using the mouse. That's what I use to edit levels, but if you use controller or keyboard to edit levels, all this stuff is also available to you. You just have to do some figuring out to see what the controls are. So the first thing you notice when you right click or open this menu now is that there's a search bar. This is super nice because you can search for stuff that might be rare, like, I don't know, you know what you're looking for, like a fixed camera or something, and you can find it right away. You don't have to go searching through all the menus. Another change, though, is that the menus, the organization has been updated. It's now more consistent and there's less confusion about stuff being in places that it doesn't make any sense. A lot of the miscellaneous stuff was moved to the arcade, like the cameras and stuff like that, so if you're looking for that, you'll find it there. So in my opinion, the biggest change to the level editor, the coolest one, is that you can now drag to select. So if you hold right-click, you can make a selection, and then you can left-click to drag it around. On keyboard and controller, you can still do this, but there's just different controls for it, I believe. But in addition to this, if you see over here, there's a control for flipping. If I hit F, it'll flip. It might be different for your controls. I'm not sure what key that's bound to. But in addition, if I select something and I hit Control V or Control C and then I hit Control V, I can paste it wherever I want as many times as I want. That's super cool. You can hit Control Z to undo, Control Shift Z to redo. It's pretty standard. That was in the level editor before. But there's a new item that's pretty cool. So let me just move this back. If you go arcade, there's this item called a mirror mode. And whenever you place this in the level editor, it will automatically reflect anything you build onto the other side. So like if I want to make some neat little thing over here, and you know, just grab that. Now it'll automatically reflect it to the other side and I don't have to do it again. If you right click on this mirror item, you can also choose horizontal mirroring. So that means that if I place something up here, it'll do it down there. I don't think that's quite as useful, but even more if you want to do both of them at the same time, you have that option. Oh, wait, there we go. Both, please. There it goes. So now you can build in all 4 quadrants at the same time. And if you really want to go crazy, you can even place multiple of these mirror tiles, and yeah, I don't know how useful you'll find that, but maybe you can make some creative art. That's pretty much all the changes for the level editor. Super cool, should improve the speed at which everyone can make levels, and I want to see what everyone makes with it. So now we're going to go over some miscellaneous changes I didn't really think fit into any of the other categories. the first thing you'll notice in this main room is that there's no longer an exit on the left side because that's been replaced with the level editor, and on the right side there's the arcade. Now the only way to exit the game is to hit pause and hit quit. But in the arcade there's some cool new changes. There's no new levels or anything. In a future update there's going to be new challenge levels edited, and there's also going to be workshop arcades, but that's not coming at the time of this video, so look forward to that later. But there is a change. If you hit pause and then you go to advanced, there's now speedrun settings. So if you turn on speedrun mode, it gives a little description here. It says, if enabled, speedrun mode will fix the random generator to make target spawns deterministic. So this way, if you're playing levels like let me find a good example, like Death Ray 101 here, these targets will always spawn in the same spot every time. So like you see this duck spawn over here, and if I reset, it'll still spawn over here. So this way you can get the levels really dialed in, and you can compete with your friends without having any RNG, which is super cool. The other change in the level editor is that there's a new max trophy mode. I haven't tested this yet, but I believe it's supposed to be for speedrunning the full game. So basically you set the max trophy to whatever you want, and then it should time you how long it takes to complete all those trophies. At least that's what I believe it does. If you're a speedrunner, I'm sure you'll find that useful, but if not, probably not. I think you actually, in order to unlock this menu, I think you need to get a dev time on any level, and then it'll show up here. So if you don't see it, that might be why. So the last thing I'm going to talk about in this category is that there's now new Texturepack support. So officially in the game, you can now use Texturepacks. This one, Jaydex's Texturepack, is one that he made. You can enable it, and then when I restart my game, it'll show up, and I'll show you that in a second. So now I've got my game loaded with Jaydex's Texturepack, totally supported out of the box. All you have to do is go to the workshop and find whatever texture packs you want and subscribe to them. So now you can see if I obviously this menu looks very different, but if I go into a level, you can see all the textures are slightly different. This is all Jaydex's work. Super cool mod, or not mod, super cool addition. It used to be a mod, the Texturepack mod used to be a thing that would allow you to do this, but now you can just do it natively, no need for the mod. I believe it also allows editing of any of the asset files in the game, so you can also change the sounds and stuff like that, which should be pretty cool. Really looking forward to see what people do with this one. So the last change I'm going to talk about in this section is a very important one. Now, some of you on the Switch version may have already seen this, but if you ragdoll, let me try and ragdoll the other way, there we go. And then if you quack, you now have access to your tongue. This is a huge development in the meta. I'm very excited to see what strategies evolve around this. On keyboard, in order to do this, all you have to do is hit ragdoll, hit quack, and then hold left click on your mouse and drag it in the direction you want. On controller, I believe you can just use the other analog stick to control your tongue. I haven't tested it though, but I think that's what it does. If not, it's some other thing. You'll find it pretty quickly. So this last section is going to be about all the different competitive changes. If you play the game competitively, or you care deeply about beating your friends every single time, this is the section that might interest you. The first change, that probably maybe the most notable change, is for keyboard players, especially for keyboard players. Now, angles work just the same in both directions. So if I walk left and if I walk right and I hold left, I'll turn the other way, and it works both sides. Previously, if you pressed left and right at the same time, the right direction would always take priority, but now whichever direction you press last takes priority. So experienced keyboard players will know that if you hold left and then you hit right a bunch. Hold on, let me turn down these. So if you hold left and you hit right a bunch, you can do angles really fast, but you can't do that to the left. But now, with this change, you can do it just as easily to the left, because you just hold right and hit left and shoot at the same time. Super nice change, makes the game a lot less janky in my opinion. So this next competitive change affects some maybe frowned upon strategies. Basically now, for those of you who are aware, if you slid into a corner with a box, it made you very hard to kill. And because none of your body was exposed, and they would have to disarm you and then grab the box, and it was just a huge mess. But now, if you slide into a corner with any prop, you'll notice that I stop sliding and I begin crouching instead. And I'm not doing this because I'm crouching on purpose. It forces me to do this. This works even if I'm not holding the box or the prop. You just force crouch. And this way you can always have enough leeway to hit the duck's head. You see how it sticks out just a little bit? This works with rocks too. It'll stick out even more with rocks because they're not as tall. Additionally, there was a change made that if you shoot at someone who is holding a rock, your gun, the tip of your gun where the bullet spawns will, for 1 frame, try to attack the duck before the bullet gets disappeared, which means that basically if someone is holding a rock and you shoot at them point blank so that it will kill them if they weren't holding the rock, then they die because the rock won't block them for the first frame that the bullet comes out, which is super nice because now you don't have to deal with scummy people camping in corners with rocks and stuff. You can just kill them as you would and get on with your day. So for those of you who have played the Switch version, you might be familiar with the fact that the sharp shot knockback was significantly increased. But there was another change that's been made since then. It's now the sharp shot is the only gun in the game that has directional knockback, which basically means that if you shoot horizontally, the knockback will be bigger than if you shoot vertically. So you can see that if I try an angle, I won't go super high, even though the knockback horizontally is very big. So this is the only gun in the game that does this. It's something that you'll have to get used to a little bit, but it does mean that if you do an angle and then immediately crouch, you can get a big boost of horizontal knockback and some upward momentum. It works best if you do like a shallow angle as far out as you can. For those of you who haven't seen the beta and are interested in new angles on a regular basis, this is definitely something you want to try out. Super fun. So this next change is a little bit hard to show you, but you'll just have to take my word for it. In this new update, hats will no longer block spawners and they won't be able to disarm ducks. So if you throw your hat at someone, it won't disarm them. And additionally, if you drop your hat in a spawner, like if I had a hat and I dropped it right here, it wouldn't prevent the spawner from making a new gun. It would just sit on the ground and it wouldn't do anything, which is super nice because hats blocking spawners was kind of an annoyance, because if you ragdoll near a spawner or someone died near a spawner, then potentially wouldn't be getting any items from that and it could mess up your game. So this next change is also pretty hard to show you, but it's a fix for online dart gun mechanics. But I'm in offline here, so you'll just have to assume that I'm telling the truth. But now in online, dart guns will properly deal the amount of knockback they do in online, which is much more than they used to do. So you can see this gray duck is getting knocked back really far, and that's the same behavior that it'll now have in online, which means that dart guns are a significantly better weapon, including the dart minigun, which should now hopefully be at least of some use on the maps that they exist on. Alright, so the last update I'm going to mention in this video is that there's now new items that will come out of random boxes in online maps. Previously there were some guns that were limited to just offline, but now hopefully almost all the guns that were limited to offline are now also going to appear online, so you'll have to learn how to use those as well. Like you saw these firecrackers here, well, it should now appear online, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure if every single one of the offline guns was added to online, but I think the majority of them were. So if you've made it all the way through this very long video, you may want to consider joining the QC Duck Game Discord. It's a pretty cool place. We host tournaments, events, streams, and you can find people who are looking for games and matches, or talk about modding or hat creation, whatever you want there. I'll leave the link in the description if you're interested. But that's going to be it for this video. Until next time, see ya.